Hi and welcome back to a new video, again also a new week vlog, because we will do some testing again here at Grizzly. We will receive a new and stronger, quicker, heavier CNC mill this week. I won't be there on the day of delivery. Cora will take care of some of the footage so we can at least see the delivery itself, but I will be back for like the startup implementing phase, like measuring the spindle and everything, and also to do some of the first cuts, see how it performs. And yeah, we're doing some stuff for iFixit as well. That's not so relevant probably for the international viewers. I will just cover part of it. But iFixit has been a long-term partner for us, and we are working on some special project together with them. Basically a tool holder which has the der8auer logo engraved on it. So it's like a special bundle you can buy here in Germany or in Europe. Now, as you can see, a few days later, and the machine is almost ready to go. During unloading of the machine, as you could see, the back part, like the lift of the truck, it just moved upwards after the weight was gone of the machine, and then it hit one of the feet of the machines and it broke off. But yeah, it's not a big problem. It's just a tiny part that has to be replaced. We have a technician here from Datron, and he's currently calibrating and also measuring for quality check the machine. So we have this Renishaw ball bar in here, and the machine will basically go around in a circle, and then we can check the accuracy of the machine. Basically in the center we have this measurement device, and depending on the movement of the spindle, you can just see what kind of like micrometer difference you will have in the center. And that's what you will see on the PC that is tracking the data. And even though it might look like a weird circle, but if you just look at the raw data itself, because this is 300.00, and then you can see like the tolerance, so it's very accurate. This would be the at least temporary result. It looks a bit odd if you look at this, but you always have to take the scale into account, which is 2 micrometers. And then also, if you look at the 6.7 micrometers, that is the tolerance measured on 1 meter. So that's pretty accurate. And as you can see, now the tolerance would be 6.1 micrometers on a radius of 300 millimeters. Generally speaking though, the M10 Pro is almost identical to our previous machine, the M8 Cube. The M8 Cube is just a normal 3-axis portal CNC mill. And the M10 Pro looks pretty much identical. It just is a bit more rigid, a bit more industrial. But apart from that, it's pretty identical. It has higher spindle power, as I said before, but it uses the same mounting on the table. So whatever we used on the other machine, like if we created holdings for our tools, let's say for this one, those are going to be Ryzen 7000 direct die frames, and that's the first milling step. So we insert the aluminum plate, then the top part gets milled with like the mounting holes and the cutout for the CPU. Then we flip it around on a different holder and mill the internals, and then like mill them out. So that's the second step. But with this, like with the second machine, we can prepare the holdings on the other machine first and do prototyping, and on this just do mass production. But both are using the exact same interface. So both are using the Datron Next interface, the same control. So all my people who are trained on the other machine can directly also use this. We just have to change some parameters, like adapt to different mills, for example, because we can use like bigger end mills on this machine and run higher feed rates or whatever. But apart from that, it's just pretty straightforward. The footage you just saw of the manufacturing is of our new Datron M10 Pro. Because mid-year we noticed that with the projects we're working on, with the products we want to produce and also the amounts we want to produce, we are kind of limited with our current M8 Cube. Because for several reasons. First of all, it only has 2 kilowatts of power when it comes to the spindle, while the M10 Pro has 8 kilowatts. So that's already like, it's 4 times the power. And then also the tools we can use for the M8, we are limited to 6mm end mills and just normal end mills. That's indeed quite limiting. So just start with manufacturing bigger surfaces. It takes quite a while if you want to work with a 6mm end mill. And for the M10 Pro, it's a different tool holding mechanism. In German, it's just the HSK tool holder. And with this, we can clamp tools from 3 to 12mm, which is also a good upgrade. And then we also have face mills, like not the typical face mill you would imagine. Like on a big CNC, you would probably have a face mill with, I don't know, like 200mm diameter. And for this, it's a pretty cute one with 25mm. But for the products we're working on, let's say the footage you just saw is from the Ryzen 7000 direct live frame. And we just have to ramp up and speed up the production, because if we put it into the market, we're not launching a product with like 50 pieces. We have to start with like a quantity with 4-figure amount. Otherwise, if we want to have worldwide availability, it just doesn't make sense. And it will make you unhappy because it will be listed. Then you maybe place a pre-order and you never know when it arrives. That's things we learned from the contact frame, because availability was not so great. I mean, we're limited to 1 machine. Now we have 2 machines, one which we're probably going to use for like prototyping and stuff, and this one for just the raw production, because it's just going to be so much quicker and will definitely help us to get a better output and also availability. Regarding the iFixit thing, so iFixit is selling something that's called Gamer Bundle. It's like a Black Friday sales thing, where they are selling this Manta Precision bit set in combination with the magnetic project mat. That's something I also often use for like disassembly of mainboards or graphics cards, where you have different screws. Then you can use the pen to just mark the individual field, what kind of screw you had on which position. It just makes assembly and disassembly a lot easier. And then that's the normal Gamer Bundle, and that costs about 80 euro. That's about 20 euro less than just buying this regularly. You also get an iFixit keycap for that. And then for a special gamer day, der Bauer bundle, we made 300 of these like laser engraved bit holders. Those are 4mm bit holders. It's already included in the Manta Precision bit set, and we just included an additional one that is like the Bauer branded. We made 300 pieces of them. And also for transparency, obviously, I was paid not for this video, because we're actually, like technically, we are only paid to do the German version, but I also just want to update you on things we are doing. But technically, we are getting paid for the advertisement part in the German video, but I'm not getting any money back from like the sales they're doing on these 300 bundles. That's just for transparency for you guys. Right now we're also working on Delid tools for socket 1700. With the 12th gen, delidding was already possible. I mean, there are tools out there from different manufacturers, but back then I decided not to release a delidding tool for 12th gen, because there was some kind of risk left for delidding, because some tiny SMD caps were still underneath the IHS. And for 13th gen, this changed. There are no more caps underneath the IHS, so delidding should be like no risk. And I only release these tools when I am confident that there is no risk. Or yeah, like very, 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 very little risk, because something could always go wrong, you know, but yeah, just have to minimize it. I made this tool for the 13th gen. I'm not going to straight try it with the 13900K, because currently I only have one and they're quite expensive. That's why I will try it first with the 12600K, a CPU I don't need anymore right now. See if this works out. I basically updated my files back then from the Delidding 2, which we made for Skylake CPUs. So it's like 5 years old, but I just updated the dimension to fit for the 13th gen. We have this corner right here that will push on the upper part of the IHS. At the same time, this surface right here and this surface, they will align on top of the PCB, like on top of the edge of the PCB, which will hold down the CPU while you are delidding, because otherwise there would be a risk that if you pull, the CPU PCB could lift up and then break on the edge. So that's something that could happen, and with this design, this should not be the case. That should be it. And just to explain the risks that we had with 12th gen, because this is 12th gen, you can see there are these tiny caps on the bottom of the CPU and tiny caps on top of the CPU. And now if you look at the IHS, you see that on one side you will have like a bigger piece of solder residue. I'm not sure why this is the case, but that's how most of these CPUs look like. And if this is on the wrong side of the IHS, then you can have the case that the IHS and with the solder residue will pull over these tiny caps and then rip them off. That's what we had with our very early testing back then with 12900K, and why we decided not to release it. I mean, most of them look like this and the risk is pretty low, but yeah, I just don't want to be responsible for people damaging their parts. And for 13th gen, none of these components exist anymore, so that should be like almost risk-free. I am very satisfied with our first test results. Just talking about the Ryzen 7000's direct iframes and the first test run, we were able to cut down the time like more than half. So it's like more than twice as quick, and that's still using the same tools, not tool optimized yet. So it's just still running the 6mm end mills, but we could optimize this to run like 8mm or 10mm, and then also doing some adjustments for the CAD model, going from like 3mm to like 4mm radius and so on. So there's a lot of things we still have to test with the new machine, but so far it looks pretty interesting, pretty promising. Very happy with this purchase, even though these are quite expensive. But yeah, that's the fun part about this. Like, yeah, always dreamed about having machines like that, and now yeah, it's pretty much like a dream come true. Apart from that, on Wednesday we will have a video coming with a third RTX 4080, and I hope this time it will perform better than the ASUS Coilvine card or the Gigabyte non-usable software card. Thanks for tuning in, have a great Sunday, see you next time, bye bye.